Well, it is springtime here in Southwest Missouri. Today is March 21st, I think. Let me double check that and make sure I'm right. 20th, March 20th. So that means it's time for meat chickens. I got the brooder all cleaned out. I got fresh straw laid down, got their feeder, their water in there, got the heat lamps going. It's warming up right now. All I gotta do is go in and get the birds from inside, bring them out and put them in the brooder box. So I'm gonna bring you guys along for that. Before we do that, let's go in and take a look at my setup here. If you haven't seen it before, I'll give you an idea of how I'm gonna be brooding these chicks out until they're ready to go out to the outside tractor, which is about 3 weeks. They'll be in this brooder box for probably about 3 weeks, depending on the weather, depending on the temperatures outside. We'll see how that goes, but let me bring you inside. We'll show you how this brooder box is all set up. All right, so it's a little crowded in here. I won't be able to be in the camera much while I'm showing you this, but it's a pretty simple setup. You should be able to get the idea of it. This is the brooder box right here. What this is the old bed liner out of my truck. I took it out because the cargo management system didn't work with it. So anyway, long story there, but this is the old bed liner for my truck. What I've done, I've just lined it with straw. I built this front on it. It's just a couple of boards that are screwed in and held in place right there to keep them from coming out the front. Got a couple of lids I built for it. I've got one more that I got to put on the front here. And then the water is in there. I think you can see that in camera. It's just a regular, chicken water here. I've got a water heater tub to set it in so that, when water splashes out of there, it doesn't wet the bedding up. It stays in there. And then the feeder right there. What I'll be feeding them to start with is a medicated chick starter. I've got one 50-pound bag of medicated chick starter. Once they go through that, then they'll go to a regular non-medicated chick grower at that point. I did have to set up 3 heat lamps. It looks like we're getting real close to temp, 100 degrees. I've got my ink bird, heat regulator right there where everything's plugged into that and it's measuring. So right now it's at 98.9 degrees. I've got it set to shut off at 100, so during warm days it's not going to get too hot for them. I'm a little concerned because we've got some cooler temperatures coming up in the 30s. I'm going to have to watch this and make sure these 3 heat lamps can keep up with that. If they can't, then what I'll do is I've got a couple of tubs up here. I'll just move them to a tub for a couple of days and we'll get them in there. So let me go get the birds. We'll bring them out. We'll get them introduced to their new, I think you can see it just hit 100 degrees and shut the lights off. But we'll bring the birds out. We'll get them acclimated and I'll let you guys see how I'm getting them all set up in their new brooder box. All right, let's see if I can get in here and get in camera. So I'm not sure I can. It's a little crowded. It's going to be a little bit hard for me to show here, but so these are the chicks. Let me open up a box here. We'll show you. Jumbo Cornish Cross chicks. You can take a look at the one. Just probably a couple of days old, I'm not sure. So now I can't get in camera and show you this, but what I'm going to be doing is just showing them where the water is. So I take each one out, let them get a drink, set them down there by the water, dip their head in the water so they know where the water is. And then just let them run around. They'll find the feed on their own. I'm not worried about that. Just want to make sure they know where the water is. Max, go on. Get. All right. One box down. Let me go ahead and get the rest of these in here, and then I'll come back and talk to you. Okay, they're all in the brooder box now. You can see they've already found the food. It didn't take them long to find the food at all. Some of them are over there getting drinks. As long as they found the water, they can get in and out of that tub just fine, no problems. Looks like the heat lamps are keeping up pretty good. They've already kicked on and off a couple of times. And Max, get back, buddy. Get back. Dog is very interested in them. So again, Jumbo Cornish Cross, there we go. Chicks, I did find them at a local, here, let me back you guys up so you can see me and I can talk to the camera. All right, so I found a pretty good deal on these birds actually. I've been looking online for a place to order from, and of course, I waited a little bit late, so, when I was gonna get birds was really gonna be delayed. It was probably gonna be May or June, but, this is the time of year a lot of the local feed stores get chicks in. and I called a local feed store. They happen to have jumbo Cornish Cross, $1.50 a bird. That's a pretty good deal. That's a little cheaper than what I could get them ordered in, and I didn't have to wait on shipping or anything. Now the bad thing is they only had 19 of them, so I bought all 19 of them, and I'll probably go back next week. They should get another shipment in next week, so I'll probably go back next week and pick up another maybe 10, do somewhere around 30 birds is probably my plan. You know, they're probably going to get birds in for the next couple of months, so I don't know. I may run, you know, one batch through, and then as they're getting ready to finish, go get another batch and run another batch through. You know, I live in town, so I can't get away with doing too much at one time, and I've only got one chicken tractor. It's really, it's set up for about 25 to 30 birds, probably at the most. Any more than that, I'd need another chicken tractor. So I'm kind of thinking, you know, run these guys through. You know, they'll be in this brooder box for probably about 3 weeks, and then they'll go out to the outside pens for another 5 to 6 weeks after that. So, you know, usually by about 8 to 10 weeks, these guys are ready to process. So my thought is that, you know, once they get up to where they've only got about 2 or 3 weeks left, I could set another batch in here and have them growing up to go right into the tractors after those guys are processed. So that's my plan. Not sure yet exactly how that's going to work out. That's just kind of what I'm thinking. So, you know, this is it. These guys are pretty easy to raise. We're going to feed them 24 hours a day until they feather out, until they're ready to go out to the tractor, and then we'll be limited in their feed because they are Cornish Cross, you know, jumbo Cornish Cross. They grow incredibly fast, and if you don't limit their feed, you can run into, they'll outgrow their legs basically, and they can have leg problems, they can have all kinds of problems. So once they go to the outside tractors here in a couple of weeks, we'll be limiting their feed to 12 hours on, 12 hours off. So I'll put their feed in the morning, take it out in the evening. Otherwise, they'll just almost eat themselves to death. They're just crazy about their food. And you can see, well, you probably can't see them right now, but that's all they're doing. They're just gathered around the feeders. So a couple of them under the heat lamps. Looks like we're, you know, 91 degrees or something like that. I got the door open here, so there's a breeze coming through. When I close this door up, it'll probably be a lot warmer. So again, I'm going to be watching them pretty close for the next couple of days. My only concern is, you know, we do have some nighttime lows down in the 40s and the high 30s. I'm not sure if these heat lamps can keep up with that, and if they can't, then I'll switch over to one of my plastic tubs. You may be able to see here in the background. It's already set up as a brooder box anyway, so I can switch over to that pretty easily and keep them in there for a couple of days, just until they start getting some feathers and they can handle a little bit of that cooler temperature, because I don't know that these heat lamps are going to be able to keep it up to 100 degrees, you know, when it's only 39 degrees, 38 degrees outside. We're going to see how that goes. But anyway, meat chickens are all set up. Good to go. This is a, you know, super economical way to raise your own food. I paid $1.50 a bird, so 28 bucks roughly for the birds. Another $16 for a bag of chicken feed. They'll go through this bag of chicken feed and probably one more 50-pound bag before it's time to process them. And that's about $16 a bag, something like that. So we're looking at, you know, let's say $30 for the birds, $30 for the feed, $60 for roughly 20 chickens. That, you know, at processing, when they're processed and ready to go to the freezer, that's only like $3 a bird. So even if I have to buy one more bag of feed, I know they probably won't go through that whole bag of feed before they're ready to process, but that only adds, what do I say, 16, that adds less than another $1 a bird. So we're looking at roughly, let's say $4 a bird once they're processed and in the freezer, and they're way bigger at that point than like the store-bought. Whenever you go to the store and you buy a chicken from the store, they're considerably bigger. These birds are going to be around 5 pounds or so when they're ready to process, whereas, you know, you get much smaller birds whenever you buy them from the grocery stores. So anyway, you know, I'll keep up with these guys. I'll let you know how they're progressing. There's not a whole lot more to it than that, though. It's pretty simple. Just I'm going to give them some feed, watch their temperature, make sure that they're staying plenty warm, and they should do just fine. So thanks for watching this video today, guys. Stay tuned for more updates on the chickens as they start growing. Oh, one other thing I will say is I do want to watch them for pasty butt. That's a thing that can happen pretty regularly with new chicks. These guys are only a couple of days old, so I'm going to watch and make sure. And it's pretty easy to tell when they get that. You just their tail end looks all wet and damp and nasty. It's not hard to treat. Just get a damp rag and kind of wipe it off and clean it off real good, and they'll usually be fine. But if you don't treat it, it can progress and become very bad and can actually kill them. So it is something that you do want to watch out for. These guys all look nice and clean. So the next couple of days I'll be coming out and I'll check them, pick them up, check their rear ends, make sure that they're nice and clean and they're not, you know, aren't developing any of those kinds of problems. But other than that, there's not much else to it. These guys should do just fine. Let me get the other lid on the Brooder Box here. It's just a 3-piece lid. It's just a frame with hardware cloth over it. These guys are way too small to be jumping out, but still makes me feel a little bit more secure to have another lid on the Brooder Box. So there we go. All right, thanks for watching this video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And as always, God bless.